college football's got a big weekend this weekend, including here on 105 through the Fan. This is why you have to be a turn it on, leave it on listener, because we have the biggest game of the weekend in college football.
UMass UConn. Yes, sir.
Not quite.
Sir. Northeastern football.
Not quite.
Trying to see if Connecticut can make it to a bowl game. Get excited.
That ain't it.
Oh, okay.
That ain't it.
My bad.
The Fighting RJ Choppies, otherwise known as the Tennessee Volunteers, take a visit to Athens, Georgia. Number 1 Tennessee taking on number 3 Georgia. That game can be heard right here on 105 through the Fan.
Yeah, so
at
if you gotta go,
2:30.
Do errands, don't worry about it. You'll be in the car. We got you covered.
You do not want to miss the biggest game in the SEC this year as the number 1 Volunteers visit the Georgia Bulldogs and what will be the deciding game on who I believe will make the SEC title game, because I do believe the winner of this game will go on to Atlanta, Georgia, to face the winner of the SEC West.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun game, in part because it's almost like a styles make fights type of game. Tennessee, almost notoriously at this point, is a pace team.
That high octane offense that they got.
They love running a whole bunch of plays. In fact, if the game script goes like they want, on their first possession, they're going to get up to the line. They're going to run a play every 12 seconds. They're going to go
It's an
to the point where you're looking at the defense, and the defense is not getting set. And also because they're not substituting and because they're hurrying up, you will not be able to substitute, and they are hoping to get up the field. That matches up with a Georgia defense that is good, baby. It's not historic, but it is good, brother, right? Like, this is a good Georgia defense. So that is going to be one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Can this Tennessee offense, with the pace that it has, can it rattle a perpetually polished, listen to that alliteration, let me hit it for you one more time, a perpetually polished Georgia defense? And also, like, as a sub-genre on that, will this Tennessee offensive line hold up? Because everybody will talk about Jalen Wyatt or Jalen Hyatt. Everyone will talk about Hendon Hooker. What makes this Tennessee team and the way that they play capable or able to happen is that offensive line is so damn good. They can go with pace. They can run the football. They can really, run block, and they can pass block and give enough time, because Tennessee likes these deep shots. You need to have an offensive line that can hold up and give you that opportunity. And as we all know, Georgia be getting them big boys. And Georgia isn't always great at pass rush to begin with. Is Georgia going to be able to, hurt Tennessee in that way? That's the offensive side of it for Tennessee. On defense, Tennessee's defense is so.
Yeah.
They've done enough.
They can give it up.
Right? And sometimes they end up trying to get into these boat races. That's what we saw with the Alabama game in some ways. That just went up and down. Georgia's offense is all right. It's not bad. Stetson Bennett IV is a pretty good college quarterback. The skill positions are all right, except when you talk about tight ends where they have a couple of monsters.
Brock Bowers, boy. And that's a monster at tight end. You're talking about a monstar. That is Brock Bowers at the tight end position.
And depending on how Georgia's defense does, that offense might need to come to play and put in, right? Like, this ain't going to be a you can ride for free. You might have to put in for this ride. So can Georgia take advantage of and exploit a Tennessee defense that is available to be taken advantage of? That's what I'm super excited for. And you know what? I'm in a place where I think Tennessee can do it. I'm not certain on it. I would lean Georgia, but I think Tennessee can, in fact, do it.
And that's one of the things we learned from the college football playoff rankings this week is that, and this comes from ESPN putting this together, and I tend to agree with it, Georgia needs to win more than the Volunteers need to on Saturday, because here's the thing. Even if Tennessee loses, they have the best win in college football this season in my mind, which is the win over Alabama. So even if Tennessee doesn't make it to the SEC title game and they finish their season with just the one loss, with one loss on the season, that being to Georgia, they still have the best win in college football, and that being over Alabama, which means Georgia, they got to have this game. Georgia has a clear path to the college football playoff, because even if Tennessee loses and they finish with the one loss, I think they would still be considered one of the 4 best teams in the college football playoff, which means you're in essence playing already for 3 spots, because one of those teams, if Tennessee goes on to win out, will be in the CFP at the end of this season.
Yeah, it does feel like we're working with what will likely be a 2 SEC college football
at
playoff.
At minimum.
Oh, you thinking 3? I don't know. That feels like a lot.
Because Alabama still has a chance. Because let's say Georgia loses to Tennessee. You're going to keep a 1-loss Georgia team possibly out of the college football playoff because their only loss would have been, and let's say it's a close game, their only loss would have been to Tennessee.
There's a lot of moving parts, some of which being, can TCU win out?
That goes to our next point.
I know. I gave you a segue. I got you, dog.
TCU and the Big 12 should be concerned. Now, I'm going to run this down for you, okay? And as ESPN calls it, the anger index.
Oh.
TCU has had 8 second-half drives this season when trailing. That's actually 1 fewer than Clemson at number 4.
Comeback kids. They have allowed themselves to get into holes and come back. And this is why I have used the phrase getting away with it for TCU this year. Not to say that they are not good. They are absolutely good, and I enjoy this team. But they have had instances where they've dug themselves into holes, and they have found themselves playing against the team's backup or third-string quarterback a lot. This is going to be an interesting week this week because this feels like, should I call it a trap game, or is that too disrespectful to Texas Tech?
No, this is very much a trap game.
Tech loves making the most out of, they get a lot of plays. They legitimately run the most plays in college football this year. In addition to that, Joey McGuire and what he's been doing at Tech, they're trying to steal possessions. They go for it on 4th down a ton. So your defense is going to have to be solid and make sure to get off the field, because they're going to try and make sure to make the most of their offense, Texas Tech is. And TCU's defense isn't incredible by any means.
And the reason why this is so much more of a trap game than normal is because not only does TCU have to go on the road to take on, or excuse me, they're at home this weekend against Texas Tech, but they got to go on the road next week when they go visit Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorns. You got to be careful to make sure you're not looking ahead to that game against Texas. But for the rest of TCU, they have 3 wins by 7 points or fewer. But the team 1 spot ahead, Alabama, has 2 and a loss. TCU, according to the anger index and with the college football playoff committee, hasn't proved enough to overcome some of the obvious drawbacks. But hey, Michigan, they have a 7-point win over Maryland, and that's really their second best opponent. But here is where it comes in. The folks in the committee room claim to only care about resume. Who have you beaten? And don't look ahead or consider past seasons. So how then to make heads or tails of TCU's number 7 placement? Because they have beaten not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 ranked opponents so far this season. But the fact that even with that kind of resume, they still find themselves at number 7 just tells you the lack of respect that the College Football Playoff Committee has for the Big 12 and their chances, given all of the powers that are ahead of them when we start thinking about already the amount of spots that these teams are playing for, to consider whether or not you're playing for 3 spots in essence if you feel like Tennessee, regardless of what happens on Saturday, makes the college football play. Because I believe that is the case, that regardless of what happens on Saturday, Tennessee, unless they lose it for a second time, is going to be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll say to leave us here, we know the committee can be inconsistent with these things, and they're just going to keep putting out a whole bunch of these rankings. It's all kind of a fool's errand.
It is. I mean,
as we do this,
it's doing the one thing it wants us to accomplish, and that's talk about it.
Yep. Yep.
And we didn't even mention the other big game in the SEC this weekend, LSU and Alabama,
which is a well-coached LSU team. I don't know. I feel like Bryce Young is just that good, though. But I'm interested to watch it and actually get my hands around what LSU is, as somebody who had written them off way too early in the season.
Well, you know what's crazy about that game is?
What's that?
LSU controls their own destiny.
Yes.
If they win out in the SEC West, they will be the ones in the SEC title game in Atlanta, Georgia. Which, coming into Chip Kelly. I don't know why I went there.
Sure.
Brian Kelly.
Why not?
And his first year there.
Those are basically the same guy, right?
Hell no.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. If you had said that Brian Kelly had a chance in his first year to control his own destiny to make the SEC title game, not a lot of people would have believed you, but that's the position they are in going into this weekend's college football action. Those are some of the things we learned from the college football playoff rankings. Hopefully, Reggie got his college football fix because it's going to be a big one.
It feels good
this weekend.
I feel bad, though, because every time I talk about TCU, I keep bringing up the fact that I feel like they're getting away with something, even though they're really good. Good at football.